Hi guys, this is Hi-Fi Daydreaming and let's daydream together on my journey to listen as much as I can of hi-fi gears and goodies and share my thoughts with you guys. This will be a retrospective view of gear I used to have but I don't have anymore, as I have a lot of thoughts on this amp specifically and would like to share with you guys what that is. Also prepare for raw editing as I don't have a lot of images to post in this video. I don't see many people speak about Roksan these days. It is a shame because Roksan is a giant in the world of hi-fi. They were a premium company decade 2-3 ago. Maybe they are more known for their turntables and cartridges. But today, in this flooded market, and when I say oversaturated market, their presence, influence and reach is not so prevalent these days, almost feeling like an underdogs in today's world of hi-fi, and they definitely should not be, certainly with the quality they bring on the market. And this review, I will dive deep in reviewing this great amp, but also trying to deduce why that is and what makes an amp competitive in this day and age. Roksan is an integrated amplifier with 140 watts in 8 ohms and 220 watts in 4 ohms. Yes, it is a strong amp and yes, it does deliver a big sound. It is a monster in a literal sense, a monster made out of sugar and spice and everything nice. A stupid pun to explain K in title, which means candy, with K not with C. But it is one of those amps in this price range that deliver great amount of power. And with the great power comes great responsibility to drive a large variety of speakers, but also to deliver on the promise. And the promise of stable current for your speakers, allowing at a lower value to perform big sound and large bass. Roksan mostly managed to keep that promise. It truly does. It seems that it pushed hardest to satisfy you, as Roksan can be characterized with these words: big, detailed, strong, and fun. It truly is an amp that does not care about clinical dissecting your tracks. It does not try to be most refined amp in this category. It gives you sound which will envelop you and give you a rhythmic experience to drive your speakers, boosting their size and scope. You can also easily pair these speakers, as synergy should be good with most speakers, though balanced ones might lack punch, but warm speakers should give you that nice big sound, while punchy treble-rich speakers should provide you with more fun and excitement and more detailed presentation. So if I was now pairing them, look at Dolly speakers or Bowers and Wilkins, or maybe some Focal for great pairing. Soundstage is really great, and it is helped by exceptional way that Roksan is layering all the sounds. It gives instruments texture and details in that way by making them more rounded. It creates perceptions of placement in soundstage, well-recorded albums that are mastered for hi-fi to create enough channels to space out all the instruments in spatial effect. It is the amp that takes channels within song's core and placing it in correct space and gives enough realism to feel big and grand. It is also DAC inside your amp that is dictating order in chaos. It takes incoming information and cleverly places them and declutter them so amp can stay open and deduce those information forward to your speakers. And speaking of DAC, I could not find information which DAC is inside Roksan. It usually helps me understand the possibility of sounds when I know what DAC is inside which box. But without knowledge of what is inside, I can tell you what my ears tell me and testing on off with external DACs that it is a capable DAC that did well to organize head and tails of complex structures thrown at it. We are in a serious territory, and we need capable DACs to play with expensive gear, as I want to help as much as it can my amp to deliver details and space of soundstage, And it was really great as it gave instruments placement, but also breadth and decay. And we now go into territory of dynamic responses, and usually here's where sort of like character of amp is built up. Some amps are punchy, some are balanced, some are warm, some are dark, and that is to how dynamic scale is, what is emphasized and what is not. And Roksan is definitely in the territory of those muscular, dark sounding amps. Scale have been tipped in the direction of bass response, so that bass and lower mids are going to have more definition and presence. Bass is a fantastic, just fantastic. If your speakers have ability to produce great bass, it is going to be enhanced by attack and dynamics of this amp. It is a big, refined, and accommodating. It builds a foundation for other instruments to lean on. It helps create this sprawling sound that is creating a pulse which is a heart of this amp, a pulse which make everything carried out and rhythmic. As also lower mids are super fun and detailed, it allows this amp to be very musical in that sense. And like bass, drums, and some parts of guitar, you know where they are and they know where you are. They are present and forward, textured that you can pick with your ears, their movement. Just an incredible amp for those who love this kind of big sound. Let's take some real examples. Let's talk about how this amp behaves in real life. What this amp does is provide a rhythmical experience, and you try something that can provide a lot of that. And you know what? Let's go with some random access memories. And how does it start? Pum 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 pum. The hit of bass and drums welcome us right out of the door, and it leads into funky tunes of Give Life Back to Music, which are filled with this bass and rhythm guitar and a lot of small electronic details. But the heart of this song is the rhythm, with that clap and snare setting up a tempo. And it is commanding from the spot. It's so fun to listen with your body going yes, 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 and it moves. And that is to me is so fun with this amp, how I enjoyed myself with just going through an entirety of random access memories. Textures, details, big soundstage makes this an appealing amp. It lacked a bit finesse in the mids where I wanted more clarity and definition, and I will touch on that a little bit later. But when there is a layering of vocals, when it merges with some percussions, it could give me more presence as it was a bit veiled by bass response. Treble and upper mids, which there is a plenty here, including with a lot of pianos and strings, could have more definition and a presence. But then we tip the scale in other direction and talk about the other side of the scale, and that is treble. Here this amp leaves a bit to be desired. It lacks finesse and elegance of detailing and presentation of a treble, which means if you compare it with other audiophile gears in this price range, and let me tell you, this price range is full of great audiophile gear. And that is important to say, of course, as treble is very good, not something where they fumble the bag, but quality of an amp lies in how much it can carry weight in comparison to other amps. It lacks that prestige of textures that almost feel real. Thus textures, mind you, create a scope of illusion of presence, which is an essence into building that audiophile magic. Details in lower treble could have more details and maturity for it to allow them to graduate into adulthood, where they are independent and nicely layered with body and presence. That richness that some other amps have are not present here. Just to return to Daft Punk one more time, Paul Williams in Touch from the Phantom of the Paradise, and who knows. While first half of the song he fights to have presence in all this layering of different instrumentations, as it is a little bit buried with different organs, keys and bass. When the end of song arrives and intentionally in production you can hear and feel the room where it was produced, it truly have a commanding presence, and Paul does sound big, but breath and decay of sound going in and out is not so firmly presented. And then comes to my point from beginning, and what is an underdog in an audiophile world? How do you quantify that, and how does one product become competitive in audiophile market across the world? You have to know that this amp was released in 2014. It is 10 years now since this amp saw the light of day, and in 2014 it certainly had far more appeal than today. It was a fresh beast out of the oven, but the beast fangs are a little bit dulled over time with new, younger and stronger amps on the market. And Roksan, even after 10 years, are keeping very firm with pricing of this amp. There's a lot of great amps then in this price range, and there are even more in today's market. And a lot of amps like, for example, Naim Nait 5 SI, which is also from 2014, have been discounted a lot since its release. And same like here mentioned Naim, Roksan is now being owned by other company. Audio companies try to sell us magic and dust at a premium price. Some companies have succeeded in that better than the others, but it is all about appeal and presentation and marketing. I can guarantee you, now in this day and age, you cannot buy €1,000 plus audiophile device that is bad. And there's a lot of similar devices that are also good with different characteristics. And they can suit you more or less depending on that, of course. So how do you reach the audio listener's room, hearts and minds? You have to have something which separates you from others, some unique characteristic of sound or some gimmick or some special design. Being great audio gear is just not enough anymore in this day and age. Roksan K3 is a great amp. If you buy it, it will only bring you heaps of audio pleasure. But at the same time, when you are in store and looking at all these amps, it is just another amp. Another amp that maybe offers a little bit less or more than others. And that way you eventually become an underdog to Cambridge Audios, Marantz, Powers and Wilkes, etc. Where just 10 to 20 years ago you were the top dog. It is a grueling market that you have to understand your realistic value and make risky choices by lowering the price enough that you have something that others do not have to give in that price range. I think always the biggest problem with K3 was its price, and that is especially now. You have to listen and adjust your brand so you will not fall into audiophile autism of believing that what you have is gold and others have a cheap copy. I know some companies are overselling their toys for absurd money and still exist, but that is because they are synonym for that audiophile prestige, same like Apple products in other tech area. And just by saying I have Macintosh, people will tell you, well, that guy have probably given a lot of money for its gear, he know what's up. But not all companies can do that and need to acclimate to a modern tendencies and values. I have seen too many companies just being stuck in their ways of believing how special they are and not lowering their prices even when the gear is getting old. But what they don't know is, yes, you are special, but so is your neighbor and his neighbor as well. So listen to your customers and grow and adapt with them. Currently, there's a trend in HIFI, which tells that you need to have an integrated amp, which has a lot of stuff in one box. But not just that, you also need to have a streamer inside, something like Yamaha network streamers currently have, which are really popular. And it seems that people are kind of wanting more stuff in a box rather than more separate. So it is where I think the climate of the hi-fi market goes, but I think in reality it is all how well you have something to present to the market and how unique you are and how good is your sound. I have two gear which I found somewhat similar to this amp that I would like to compare, and that is Naim Nait 5 SE and Rega Elex Mk4. Naim is an amp that is a fierce rival to this amp. If you had the chance to hear them both, you will know what I mean. Naim is not as powerful as Roksan, so that means Roksan is able to drive more speakers easily. Naim does not have a commanding bass and lower end, neither the soundstage, which is weightier and fuller. All of these points absolutely goes to Roksan. If you love your vocals, instruments, presentation to be full and commanding with a massive bass, absolutely don't even look in Naim's direction. But Naim is an audiophile machine which works best with fluidity of songs and richness in mids. It is so easily to follow tempo changes and flow of composition and rising and falling in dynamic scale. With this amp that does such a great job in texturizing and detailing its presentation. Yes, Naim is a bit more mature in mids and treble, as you can feel in percussion what type of drum is it made of, metal, wood, etc. It helps deliver more rich and upbeat forward presentation to a Roksan's a bit bass and neutral one. It all depends what you like, as some people might really miss Roksan's weight by switching to other amp, but might be happy with how much more clarity, separation and details Naim have. It is all preference and you can go in any direction, but Naim is more cheaper now. Other is of course Rega. The reason I chose Rega is it is a new shiny Elex in their lineup, nicely rounded and updated to modern markets. I think Rega does a fantastic job of updating and improving their gears for today's market, even though their amps are almost always built for a more specialized audience that might be different than Roksan and Naim's. That audience that is ready to sacrifice balance and calm listening to a very punchy detail and agile listening. Elex is just, it has an incredible detailed sound that might seem a bit fatiguing if placed and paired incorrectly. But as always, in this price range, you will have dynamics, details, and textures arriving at you at streams of sonic information. So yeah, the soundstage and details are in favor of Rega. But then again, both Naim and Roksan deliver more bigger, muscular sound with miles better bass reproduction. It grounds music far more, as Rega easily can create a bright sound. To Naim and Roksan more balanced approach. It is also has a less power, significantly less than Roksan, so it can less drive some more demanding speakers. But it is a bit cheaper amp, and for people who prefers more details, textures and punch, well, Rega it is. Especially if you only care about analog and not much digital connections. Roksan is a great amp. It is an amp that offers a lot of value, as it is a powerful amp that have many analog inputs, including a smart decision to add hi-fi bypass so it can work as an AV receiver help or alternative. And it definitely can, as it will give you that big and grand experience for movies. It certainly is strong and powerful to accommodate that need. So it have a lot of what one audiophile enthusiast would want in this price range. But for it to be fully appreciated in this price range, you have to be a certain caliber of audiophile lover that prefers strong, big, bass-rich sound, as otherwise, in this price range, some amps do deliver more, and in this price range, I cannot call it best buy or biggest value. I just cannot. It needs a discount so it can rival in a less competitive price range, that buying this would make more sense, and it would go to have my badge of great value. For what it is a great amp for a certain audiophile lovers, those that love unparalleled lower end and bass in this price range, including a great power supply to drive countless speakers, easy and hard to drive, and that will be to give a lot of audiophile goodies and a decent number of ports and flexibility. But Roksan is a giant and it will remain as giant with a great legacy. And I cannot personally wait to see what more Roksan does in future. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, or if you can, donate via Patreon. Keep daydreaming and see you soon. Bye.